What did I learn in my first year of publishing in 2020 to sell over 4,500 books during Q4? Now, Q4 is the period of time between October 1st and December 31, and is the critical time to increase your reviews, to sell more books, and to take advantage of this premium time of the year. Now, if you haven't been to this channel before, welcome. My name is Romney. And what I want to do in this video is to highlight some key tips so I can help you to sell more books during this part of the year, or this time of the year. What I want to do is break down these tips so that you can implement them and think about how they might be part of your strategy to sell more books during Q4 on Amazon. Okay, so let's get into this because it's such an important time of the year for you and such an exciting time for customers to be purchasing books as gifts ready for Christmas Day. You'll probably find that you'll sell more books during this 3-month period than you have for the rest of the year. So you need to really take advantage of the fact that customers are online and ready to purchase. So what have I learnt over the past 2.5 years of selling books on Amazon KDP that allowed me to sell over 4,500 books in my first year of publishing? What can I teach you during or help you during the period of October to December to sell more books? Well, in a moment, I'm going to go through some tips and really help you to tailor your strategy so you can sell more books during this period of the year. It's such an important time of the year, and you need to make sure you take advantage of it. So before we get started on some of the tips, I think it's important that we actually reflect back on some of the success that I've had during Q4. So when I first started in my first year of publishing, I sold over 4,500 books. In fact, 4,606 books. Now, I often get the question, well, how many books did you have? Well, at that period of time, I had 379 books. But I'm not really proud of the fact that I had that many books because maybe 20% of them are the ones that were selling well. In fact, I've deleted most of those 379 books now, apart from maybe 30 of them, maybe 35 books, because I just didn't feel that they were appropriate. The covers weren't very good. I probably rushed a few of them to try and create more books. At the time, it was more about quantity rather than quality. But now, knowing what I know and the experience that I've had, I've removed many from my portfolio. So I continue to create quality now, and I probably only create a book every 3 months now because I do really focus on the quality side of things. Anyway, let's move on. We're looking at Q4. How did I sell this many books? And what did I do? And what did I learn from that period of time to sell over 4,500 books? You can see before we move on, you can see the growth. So from the beginning of October, sold roughly 30 books or 25 books there, and a few ups and downs, and then you can see the pattern of behavior of customers as it got closer to Christmas. So the peak time was about the 18th of December, where I sold over 175 books on that one day. Then there's a drop, and then there's a significant drop because Amazon, I think, closes down for Christmas Day, and parcel deliveries need to be done before Christmas Day, so people stop buying, and then there's a huge drop. Then it picked up a little bit, maybe some post-Christmas sales, and then it sort of drifted off a bit. January started to pick up again by about maybe the 20th of January. So that's sort of the pattern of behavior that you might likely see in your portfolio, depending on how many books you have and the different kinds of books you do. So let's move on to the next slide. So one of the tips I'll give you is to think from the customer's perspective. What kind of books are they going to be purchasing as gifts, as stocking fillers for their children? You need to think from the customer's perspective and think, how are they going to find my books? What marketing do I need to do? So that was an important shift for me. I wasn't thinking about my business and my books. I was thinking about, well, where are customers going to find my books? how can I increase the awareness of those books to customers, and what kind of books are they going to be purchasing? You might have a portfolio of 200 books, but maybe not every one of them are books that people will buy at Christmas time. So think from the customer's perspective and start to focus on the marketing of those books that are going to be more popular during Q4. You may have a book about training dogs. Well, that book may not be a bestseller or a big seller during Q4. It might be a seller during the rest part of the year, but it may not take off than a book that might be a stocking filler for kids, that might be about gaming, for example. So just think carefully about the books that you do start to market during this time and what customers are more likely to purchase. One big tip that I would definitely advise you to consider is to increase your exposure to Amazon advertising. I've got a course about Amazon ads that you can check out on Udemy or Skillshare, and that will go through the best ways to set up your campaigns and having success across the US, UK, Canada, Australia, all those different marketplaces. But I can definitely from my own experiences let you know that I start to increase my advertising and my campaigns on Amazon ads because it's where customers are. It's where they're searching. And so that's why I find it so helpful and so powerful, because customers usually have an account when they're searching on Amazon. So if my sponsored ad is already in front of them, then that's going to be a great way to convert that customer so I can get that book sale. But you've also got to know that the cost of Amazon advertising does increase during this time, because Amazon advertising is based on a bidding system. So the more publishers or authors that are out there advertising their books during this period of time will start to increase the cost per click or bids for you. So your bids might be 23 cents during the normal part of the year, but this time of the year it might actually increase by 20 to 30%, sometimes more for the bids. Therefore, you just need to make sure that you're not overdoing your budget spend and you've got good cash flow. And I'll talk about the cash flow side of things in a moment. The next tip that I would suggest is only add new books until the end of October and focus more on current books in your portfolio. Because this time of the year is busy for Amazon KDP, sometimes the rate of publishing or getting a book live can be delayed. I remember back in 2020, I was trying to upload some books in October, and it took, I think it was around 15 days for those books to become live, whereas normally it might be within 3 days. So just know that if you start to publish more books, then there might be delay. But also, you need time for those books to gain traction, for the keywords to start to rank, and for you to get some reviews. So therefore, creating books in this time of the year can be a challenge. Therefore, I would advise that you focus on existing books and try and increase those sales and those reviews during this time of the year, rather than focusing on creating new books. So just make sure that you choose the kinds of books that the customers will be purchasing, as mentioned in point number 1, and you start to think carefully about ways that you can market it through Amazon advertising, even other social platforms that you think could promote and give your book every opportunity to be sold. And this point really follows on from the last one, where you need to have that shift from creating books to marketing and advertising your portfolio. One of the mistakes that I did make early on in publishing was that I didn't probably allocate the budget I should during Q4. I needed to probably save a bit more money during the early part of the year, utilize some funds from selling those books to market them during Q4, because you're probably going to get more sales during this time of the year than you have for the other 9 months of the year. And even if in your first year of publishing, if you spend a fair bit of what you earn from your book sales, you'll actually reap the rewards later on. When those books have got more reviews, they're ranking better, they're featuring on page 1, you've got a better BSR ranking, then that will help you over the long term. And it's a hard thing to adopt because you want to probably get that money from those books and not necessarily reinvest it back into marketing and advertising. But even if you use a good proportion of that to reinvest back in your book, then that's another great way to allow your book to get more evergreen sales throughout the whole year and not just peaks at certain times of the year. So those reviews are going to be really important. So if you get more sales, then Amazon loves more sales. Therefore, your book will get more of a boost from Amazon on or when customers are actually searching for your book. So really shift from creating to marketing and advertising your portfolio. And again, for those other 2 steps, just choose the books that the customers are going to be looking for. And maybe you have 10 books that you think are your top 10 that you should be marketing and advertising during this time of the year. And that's what I did. That's why I disregarded the majority of my books, because I found that I had a group of 10 or 15 that I thought were really going to sell well, and they ended up selling well. To be able to sell over 4,500 books during that period of time was something that was of great benefit to me, because those books continue to sell really well to this day. So let's do a review of some of the data that I've seen from this time of the year. I've found that 40% of my annual sales occurred during this time. 90% of my reviews also occurred during this 3-month period, because it was when I was getting most sales, and then in about January all these reviews started coming through, which really helped boost my book sales for quarter 1. Sales ramp up in mid-December, then drop significantly, so get ready for that Q4 drop, and it does drop rapidly, as I showed you very early on. Sales will be determined by the types of books you sell, so not every book is suitable for Q4, but really determine what customers are thinking and what gift books would be good. And December KDP payments are made at the end of February, therefore factor this into your cash flow. You might be spending a few $100s during October, November, December, but if you sell most of your books in December, well, that payment will not be received until the end of February. Therefore, you need to pay for your Amazon ads, usually every fortnight, in advance of you receiving your royalty payment from Amazon KDP. And I've found that to be a bit of a shock, because in my first year, I probably spent maybe $800 in advertising during that Q4, and I had to wait until February before I received my payment for those books. So let's just summarize a few key points. Remember, Amazon advertising should be considered during this time of the year, definitely, as an investment into your books and your portfolio, not an expense. Do what you can to save money during the early part of the year to then invest in Q4, because it will be such an important time of the year. Also know that not all books are going to be suitable during this time of the year. Consider what books you've got in your portfolio. Choose maybe 5 or 10 books and then market those books. Don't market books that maybe haven't sold too well previously, or maybe suitable for the other times of the year, but know that customers are purchasing gifts and stocking fillers and things like that. So they're the kinds of books that you need to consider are going to be most suitable during this time. And finally, you may not have a huge amount of success in your first year of publishing during Q4. You may not have the success that I've had, and that's okay, because what you need to do is learn from this experience and then apply that moving forward. Take notes. It's what I did. I took some notes on a spreadsheet about what worked, what books were selling really well during this time of the year. And don't always just focus on the US market for your Amazon advertising. Remember, there's Canada, the UK, even Australia that you can consider, and you might have books that are translated that you can also advertise. So there are different marketplaces that might be suitable for your books. So there are a few tips that I've been able to share with you about my experience with the Q4 and what might be able to help you in your experience in the upcoming period. As I've just mentioned during the presentation, there are some key reasons why selling more books is going to be important for you. But along with those, when you sell more books, the algorithm of Amazon will pick it up. Therefore, by selling more books during the Q4, you'll get your keywords which will rank better, you'll have more reviews, hopefully your BSR ranking will have increased as well. Therefore, it sets you up for a great new year selling more books from January onwards. So I do hope that you gained some valuable information from this video. If you did like the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and then I'll be providing more great key information and videos to help you with your self-publishing now and into the future. So thanks very much, and all the best for Q4.